Okay, I hit record, so that should be working. It's gonna be fun. This is always fun. Tammy and I really love how this is unfolding. Sometimes, you have an idea and you're like, we love to do this. We're not sure if everybody else will, but we're watching the momentum grow, and it's really fun to connect with other women and entrepreneurs. And we love how we have differing opinions and differing perspectives. Tam and I touch on that a lot between us, and like seeing the wealth of knowledge and wisdom that comes from these conversations is something we're really enjoying doing. So as Tammy said, I need to put my slides up. That's not what Tammy said. There we go. Oh, I don't want my name tag. Sorry, guys. There we go. Okay. Exploring entrepreneurship. Today, we're going to talk about breaking away from shiny object syndrome. This is definitely a thing I have personally done a lot of, and it's definitely a common, I don't want to say challenge, but it's like a barrier. It's one of those mindset shifts that I find makes the difference between really starting to see accelerated business growth versus feeling like you're working so hard and you're doing so much, but you're not getting anywhere. And that's the worst thing that I see, because I know these like people have amazing products or services and there's a market for it, but it's just this mindset of dispersing your energy in too many ways that you don't see results. So it's not that a business isn't viable, it's this shift that I really, really appreciate. So recording is done. I'm going to move on. Essentialism. This is one of those books where before I read it and after I read it, I was a completely different person. This completely changed the way I approach my professional and my personal life. Yes, it's an amazing book. I know a few of us have touched base on it. If I had to list 5 books that I recommend people reading, this would be in one of the top 5 spots, 100%. And I really want to show you guys just how much I was entrenched in chasing shiny objects. As some of you know, some of the background I have in the different education I've taken on. But like the full scheme of it is, when I graduated high school, I was going to study physical anthropology in Trent University, applied, got accepted. Life happened. I ended up in Ottawa and Algonquin studying museum studies instead. Life happened again. My father passed away when I was 21. Moved back home. I ended up in Loyalist. I was studying general arts and science. And then I moved to Kingston, to St. Lawrence, and I studied general arts and science there. I was doing graphic design, anthropology, psychology, physics, film studies. Like it was just this huge amount of shiny objects I was chasing. Then I moved into classical French cuisine and I studied that. And then when I was done classical French cuisine, I did like a bunch of online stuff, a bunch of different blogs. I was house flipping and renovating and working on rental properties with my ex. So I did a renovation blog, got really big into crafting. I taught myself how to basket weave. I did a blog for that. I taught myself to do designer cakes. I did that. Like I was shiny object person to the max. I spent 10 years chasing different shiny objects and I really loved what I was doing, but there was no substantial results. And that's what this book really demonstrates, is why if we choose to be a non-essentialist, the results don't come. I read this book when I was at home with my kids. I was at home with kids for 10 years, and it completely shifted how I approach things. And first I applied it to how I was working with my household and my kids. And then when I decided to go back into the workforce, I applied it to my career, and I picked marketing and I stuck with marketing. And because of that, I am 5-6 years in, I started completely from scratch. I had to get educated in it. I had to build up experience in it. I had to build up the clients in it. And now this month, I've just closed my second over 12K profit month in 3 months or 4 months. Like that is essentialism in a nutshell. It's because I have been laser focused and I've operated my business and my life in this way. And this is what I like. This is why I'm so excited to share this with people, because if you take this approach and you apply it, that is what will build your business. And then you guys will all be having 10K months. It's available. It's there. It's about how we manage ourselves and our businesses. And this book is a really, really good framework for applying that. Yeah, I can't believe it. Like I woke up this morning to a deposit in my bank account of $6,500. I was like, okay, let's go. This is a piece that Tammy and I really focus on in every session, and I wanted to bring it forward, especially for this session. There's 2 pieces I have found in developing a skill and kind of leveling up in what we're doing. And a level of mastery takes both mindset and skill set. There's understanding it, and then there's taking action and learning what it looks like when we're actually applying it. What I really love is that it doesn't matter which part you jump in on. You kind of dip your toe in the water and take that leap. They self-feed. So when you start to understand it and you get the mindset that you can do it and you start to frame things that way in your mind, and then you take action, you really start to build the confidence that you get from taking action, and then that feeds back into your mindset. One of the things I've really noticed is that because I'm a learner, and I suspect everybody here is a learner, we probably like to dip our toes in the water with mindset first. If we can understand it, then we feel more ready to do it. And some people are skill set people. So the difference in this approach is like, if we're mindset people, it's if I believe it, then I'll become it. If I understand it, then I can do it. That's 100% the way I operate. And usually people who are book people, that's what a book gives us, is a mindset. It helps to start framing and priming our minds so we can move into action. And the people who like to start the skill set first is those fake it till you make it, which it's not my vibe. I will push myself occasionally, but I definitely prefer to invest in the mindset. But what I really want us to know with exploring entrepreneurship is the reason Tammy and I focus on both is because we need both. So one of the dangers us learners can have is that we love to sit there and invest in our mindsets, and that's our comfort zone. So we read and we learn and we get inspired. It's really important we move into action, because that's where we develop our skill set. And Carrie has been a beautiful reminder of this for me. She's always throwing that out there in the containers I'm in, like, that's great. Let's make sure we take action. And I will say, the only reason I have 12K month this month is because I take action. So I really want you guys to be able to, at the end, I'm going to have an action step. And I really, really want you guys to give yourself the gift of doing that. To summarize essentialism and shiny object syndrome in kind of one sentence, when we focus on and we choose and we prioritize what really matters, we don't suffer from shiny object syndrome anymore. Because those shiny objects stop being appealing. We have set our intention on something completely different, and we know what is aligned action. So in Essentialism by Greg McKeown, he legitimately, it's such an amazing book. It's not a big book. It's not a really deep one, but the approach to living life as an essentialist is completely different compared to a non-essentialist. If anybody was to ask me what I identified as, I would probably say I feel like I'm an essentialist, because it's really how I approach everything. These are the 3 big takeaways from the book. So the disciplined pursuit of less, which is on focusing on fewer things and focusing on high impact activities. We're going to talk a lot about high impact activities today. One of our previous sessions, Tammy led us on about The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and it talks about focusing on your zone of genius or zone of excellence. I can't remember which one. But the reason I don't subscribe to that is because I subscribe to this instead. I don't focus on what I want to do. I focus on what's going to have the highest impact in my business and in my life, because I do love working in my zone of genius, and it's smart to build a model based on that. But I'm also here in service of growing my business, which means that sometimes I am in service of doing the highest impact thing rather than the thing that suits me the best. The power of choice. Choosing how we spend our time and energy. I am a single mom of 3, and I'm running a household completely on my own and running a business. I understand that sometimes our time is really allocated. For women, I think there's a really big opportunity to get really intentional with our energy. There is a lot of optimization we can do with energy. But even with time, moving into the acceptance that we are choosing whoever it is we're showing up for, we're choosing to show up in that way. And then the last piece we're going to talk about is a culture of clarity. McKeown writes the book speaking to teams a lot, but I think even as solopreneurs, the culture we create in our business is really important. It sets the tone for ourselves, and it will also attract certain people into our network. It will really resonate. So it's really important that we use clarity in what we're doing. I have the chat popping up. And getting really clear on our priorities. And that helps to streamline what we're doing, and it keeps it top of mind for us. So we're going to go through those 3 in a little more in depth. The first one, that disciplined pursuit of less, which is focusing on fewer high impact activities. This one is, this image here is seared into the back of my eyeballs. When I close my eyes, this is what I see. This completely changed everything for me. Non-essentialist, this is me doing all of the different academic things and pursuing all of the different things. And what happens is we have a finite amount of energy and time and resources to put into stuff. If we're doing 20 things at once, we're going to move them all an inch forward. If we instead focus on fewer things and we invest all of that time and energy, we're going to move it 20 inches forward. Especially when it comes to business. I use this for my parenting as well, but really in business, one of the things that we get caught in, especially in the early stages, is we're like, okay, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need branding, I need marketing, I need to work on my business operations, I need to be networking, I need to bring in sales, I need to bring in leads. All of those are really valuable business goals. But if you're working on 20 different things in your business at once, it's going to take you 2 to 3 years to grow it to the point where you see a result. The reality is it takes time and energy plugged into something before we build it to the point where there's an ROI. If you need to wait 2 or 3 years before you see the ROI over any of your business activities, most of us are not going to make it. Usually at the starting stage, the most important thing we need is money in the bank. Like, this business needs to be generating money, or it's not a business, it's a hobby. If we can survive in this way for 2 to 3 years and you make it there, you're going to have a really substantial business once everything reaches that point. But most of us, especially for solopreneuring, we really want to become essentialists, which means we need to get laser focused and pour our time and energy into something very specific that's high impact. And then instead of taking 2 to 3 years, in 3 to 6 months, we see that result. In 3 to 6 months, we see an increase in leads, or we see an increase in sales. And this is why I really, really recommend, especially in business, giving yourself the opportunity to try out letting go of things. It's very important. And like, I would not be preaching this if I did not know that this genuinely works. I am the most time scarce person in the world. Well, not the most in the world, but I'm up there on the levels of responsibilities that I'm managing. And the fact that I have built a business to the state that I built it in the last couple of years while managing all that is because I have taken this approach. I'm not perfectly, nobody is, but I'm able to kind of put aside the shiny objects. And I am a shiny object person, as I hope you understand now. But because I have dedicated my approach to business in this way, it's allowed me to create really substantial results. So when we're talking about kind of the process we want to bring ourselves through this to get to this point, we want to sit and honestly assess all of our tasks and projects and commitments. This is about kind of emotionally distancing yourself and getting really objective. What am I filling my time with? What am I filling my day with? What kind of impact do these really have? Sometimes we can get emotionally invested in something that is not necessarily driving the impact of our business. So we want to really be able to sit and take an inventory. I love taking inventories of all of my things. This is the very first step. And then we want to look at focusing on those tasks and projects that have the highest impact on your business or personal goals. Not everything is going to be the most relevant at this time. It doesn't mean it's not relevant somewhere down the road or in a different business model. One of the questions I get often around marketing is like, does email marketing work? Does social media marketing work? Yeah, it works, but is it the best fit for you right now? Is it going to drive whatever your primary goal is? Is it going to make an impact on that? That's really the question you want to ask. Not does it work in general, but what is my main goal? If my main goal is this business levels up if I'm able to bring in 5K, 10K a month, then what's going to drive that? What's the most important, most impactful task and project you can do around that? And then when you've kind of assessed all that, you really want to get to the place where you're dedicating a really good amount of your time and effort to those high priority activities. And when we do that, we end up with that being able to run really far as opposed to, I'm trying to show, there we go. We're able to get to this place where we see results. Right? As opposed to if we're going in all these different directions, it's going to take us a long time to build anything to the place where it brings in results. This is where we end up feeling super productive because we get an ROI. A lot of people I know are very, very productive. It's not a lack of putting in energy or effort. It's a lack of it not being focused. That's the only reason they're not getting to the results they want. Second one is the power of choice. And this is about choosing how we spend our time and energy. I will say I don't know any woman in business who's not really good at scheduling their time already. We don't need to be perfect. We definitely need off time. Our brains need that to diffuse. What we really need, I find more so, is the option to do the right thing at the right time, which is kind of that energy management. Carrie kicked this off for me quite a few years ago, where I asked a question in a mastermind around like, how do I manage this? And it's like, oh, if you are a menstruating person, cycle syncing and knowing when your energy is going to be in one place and not the other, and wrapping your business around that, beautiful. If you have, well, we all have like daily circadian cycles, really optimizing and being conscious of, I'm most alert in the morning, I'm a morning person, I earmark that time for work. I'm not going to waste it doing something else, because I am choosing to invest my time and my energy into this high priority task that I'm dedicated to moving forward. There's a lot of maneuverability we have, even when we have a lot of responsibilities. The more conscious you get around your energy cycles, the more you'll find ways to tweak it. And I'm a high energy person naturally, but I have a lot going on. If I hadn't have started to optimize how I'm using my time and energy, and understanding that I have a choice in this, I wouldn't have been able to do as much as I've done in the past while. It's been the fact that I know at 6 o'clock, my brain turns to mush. Like I have zero intellect after 6 o'clock at night. So I do not expect anything from myself after that in terms of work. I use that to go out for a walk with my kids. I know my brain is really sharp first thing in the morning. So I put all my stuff as early as I can. I know by 2 o'clock I have a slump, so I might look at my emails at that point. Giving yourself that can get you a lot more progress in your business than if you just try to force yourself and you feel like, well, I have to do things when I have to do them. Taking ownership over the control you have with your schedule and your energy is really powerful. So our steps for this: really embrace the mindset you were in control of your choices. Was it not last week, the week before? Some of you know, there was a weekend event that I was really excited to go to. I was going to be a speaker at it. And I watched throughout the week as my kids kind of like dominoed getting sick. And I'm like, no. And then the day before came, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to be able to go. My kids are going to be too sick to go. They're going to be at home with me. And I had that moment, but because I've been working on this so much, I was like, no, I choose that. Like, I choose to be the mom that gets to stay home with their kids. And I love that I get to make that choice. Nothing is being forced on me. This is a choice that I have made. Really embracing that kind of mindset that whatever responsibilities we have, this is a common thing I find with us women in business. We can get a little caught in like, I have so many other things I have to do. I wish I could do work on my business, but I'm so busy with this other stuff. Really embracing the fact that you choose to be a holistic person. You choose to have those other responsibilities. You choose to be a woman who shows up for those people in those ways, or those responsibilities in those ways. And really taking ownership helps move us into a place where we can look at things a little more objectively. Then we really want to base your choices on how well they align with those long-term goals and values. Instead of being reactive, and when people come to us and they ask for our time, or someone, brings in something that maybe would impact our energy a certain way, when we start to filter things based on those really impactful long-term objectives that we have, shiny objects aren't so shiny anymore, because they're not what we're looking for. The real genius behind essentialism is that you kind of set your view. You know how like we have that confirmation bias, what we look for, we see? Essentialism is setting your mind to look for things that support your long-term goals. So all these random ideas that come in, if like, oh, let's do email marketing, or you see a really cool course for email marketing. If you've already committed a quarter to building your direct marketing, like your direct sales, your DMing people, email marketing does not distract you, because you're evaluating things on those long-term goals. And then it's about prioritizing opportunities that offer the greatest return on investment for your time and energy. This is a really great way to start evaluating the things that do pop up. Flexibility is important, but when we still have this filter, it means that we can be like, okay, this is a cool idea, and I can see how this is actually going to move me forward 7 steps in this long-term goal that I had. So everything becomes filtered based on that, instead of here's an opportunity, and you don't get FOMO anymore, right? Well, it's always there on some level, but it greatly reduces it, which reduces your urge to follow shiny objects. Culture of clarity. It's about getting really, really clear about your priorities. If everything is important, nothing is important. And I know we've heard that, and it's 100% true. This is about really deciding if you have 5, 10 things that you say are your business goals, you don't have a goal, right? You haven't actually decided where are you right now? What are you building right now? Such a huge part of business is almost like the big picture is great, but you want to be able to focus yourself into your immediate presence. Like, what are you building right now? What is the reality of the situation right now? If you want to be somewhere different in a year, what needs to happen between now and then to get you to that place? So for establishing our priorities and getting really, really clear around this is where SMART goals come in. You'll notice a lot of business advice is it taps into essentialism. There's a lot of overlap because when something works, it tends to be applied across the board. So the first step is getting really clear and specific and having measurable goals that are aligned with your purpose. This is the difference between action and aligned action. I know you guys are all busy. I know I was always busy. When you start really making sure the action you're taking is pushing forward those longer goals, it becomes aligned action, and we start to see a lot of progress happen. Breaking down our goals into really actionable steps and milestones. Again, really common advice, but this is a way to get clarity. So we understand a long-term goal is not something we can sit down and do today. We cannot put a long-term goal on our to-do list. What we can put are steps, and what we can celebrate and recognize as we go along are milestones. And a lot of this has to do with behavior modification. Being able to really see what we're doing and being able to really celebrate what we're doing are really important parts when it comes to psychology of that. So it's woven into essentialism for that reason. And then the third one, I love this, and I do find we don't use it enough. Having regular tools that we use like check-ins and progress reviews to maintain our clarity. Sitting down once, well, even that would be nice. I have a recommendation for marketing meetings with yourself. And one of them is your annual marketing plan. Sitting down at the end of your year, beginning of your year, and really doing an overview of how things went and what your goal is and what you're going to build forward. But you also want to sit down once a month and you want to reconnect with those goals. You want to reconnect with the clarity, because when we have it in our minds, it makes it easier for us to make those choices. It makes it easier for us to make the aligned actions. So clarity is not something you create once and then you kind of like let it dissipate, because life will move in and life will cloud your clarity. You want to review it and you want to sit down with yourself so that you can maintain that clarity. So the summary of it is when we choose, when we focus on, when we get really, really focused on a few things that are high impact, and when we choose how we spend our time and energy, and when we prioritize what matters, that's when we stop getting caught with shiny object syndrome. That's when we go from pursuing 7 different areas of academic stuff in the 7 years to building an actual marketing business, right? That's the difference that we get. Before we go to Q&A, I want to give you guys the question that we're going to open up to later so you can have it sit in your head and you can be ready. I know I'm that type of person. So the question we're going to ask later in a little bit, and I will put this back up on the screen, is what is one of your most important business goals right now? I'm not going to ask you to figure the number one. That's too much to ask, but just one that you intuitively is like, yeah, no, this is actually important. This will change my business if I manage to make this happen. And then the second one is, what is a high impact task that is currently on your to-do list that moves that goal forward? Something that you have right now sitting in front of you that's been circulating in your brain, or you have it written out on a mile-long to-do list. So that's the question we're going to ask. But first, I will open it up to Q&A with Tammy. Look at that chat.
I'll take it off Spotlight. That was incredible. Thank you so much, Cheyenne. I listen to it by audio. I don't actually read it, and not seeing that diagram really made a difference. I think sometimes the visuals just makes it so incredibly clear how important all this is. I think my question, Cheyenne, is what are signs that I can see that I might be, kind of going after the shiny object syndrome?
If you have a notebook that's filled with ideas, but you're like, but I never really actually implement anything. I think all of us have this, right? The quintessential notebook. Ideas are great, but ideas are the cheapest part of anything, right? It's once we get into actually implementing, that's when you realize I'm moving into essentialism.
So having the 4 notebooks I do kind of might not be.
We want to capture our ideas, but if we're spending more time writing in our notebooks and reviewing them or learning new things and less time doing, yeah.
So I know you touched on it in your talk, and I think it's really important to kind of look, what steps can we take as entrepreneurs to really start implementing, going from, making it a daily routine to be an essentialist?
The very, very first step, professionally or personally, is figuring out your values and your goals. Getting really, really deep with yourself about what you want, because that taps into intrinsic motivation. But also, if you don't know what you want, you won't be able to pick your priority. You won't be able to pick your aligned actions because you won't have any clarity on that level.
I think that's absolutely essential and a great practice for anyone to take. Um, I think it's amazing, and I want to open it up now to everyone else. Karu, you had your hand up.
Yes, the biggest impact from this book for me was if it's not clear yes, it's clear no. So I apply to everything. Even when my friend called me, oh, let's watch TV together. I said, oh, sometimes, oh, I have to do this. Oh no, I can't. Then it's no. If I say, oh yes, I want to watch that, then I'll go. So for business too, I want to do many things, as you know. I have many ideas, but I go through and say, okay, I want to do this. I'll do that. So yeah, that is my takeaway from the book. And then thank you very much for sharing your stories too. Thank you.
Karu, that's great insight. Absolutely. Did you want to follow up on that, Cheyenne?
I love Karu. That's all I got.
Does anyone else have any, has anyone else consumed this book and have any ideas they'd like to share about it?
I want to throw a question out, and that is, it links back to the action piece. And so, Cheyenne, you said 2 things which I loved, like know what your business goal is, and then the way that you can move the dial. So, like, I think where a lot of people get stuck, I see, is like on what is the offer they're making? What's the thing they're selling? So what is your response to that? Because like Kara just said, there's a million things you could be selling. How do you focus? What advice do you have? Especially like you're in marketing, so you could use yourself as an example, maybe give examples of what you sell. Like, how did you decide on those offers? Because I find for people I work with, that's like one of the toughest things is just to get them to put out an offer so they can get paid, right?
100%. It depends for me what stage you're at. If you're going in with, I want to use the term market knowledge, but if you've worked with people that you want to serve already and you already have an idea of what kind of things they're looking for, then it's about packaging it so it solves a problem. For me, because I simultaneously started in marketing working as I was being educated in it, I had to build up the market knowledge as I went. So my first stage was actually not locking into an offer because I didn't have the knowledge it took of the market to create a smart offer. So I actually spent a time working flexibly with the market where I didn't have anything super defined. And then once I got to the point where I'm like, yeah, I know there's a market for this and I know how to package it, that's when I locked it in. So for me, it's, do you know your market well enough to know what they want? Then you package it in a way that solves their problem. If you don't know the market yet, be realistic about the fact that just because you want to sell it doesn't mean there's a market fit, and you can spend a lot of time spinning your wheels and losing money and time that way.
So when you don't know your market, are you suggesting just sort of putting an offer out there, seeing if it gets traction? Is that like how you started?
I suggest finding a way to work with your market. Like with the webinars, I started those 6 months ago with the first weekend one. And I was like, I know I don't know how to run a webinar that I will after a year. So I just like threw spaghetti at the wall and then looked for the feedback. And it's the same when you're developing an offer. Find a in that you can get real skill set time, and then you will start to understand it on a level that you need to understand to put together a viable offer.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you.
I love that. That's absolutely gold. One thing I want to bring up, every time we read a book, one of us says it was written by a man for a man. and that seems to be, like a resounding theme throughout a lot of these books I read, and not just a man, but someone who doesn't identify as, geez, do I have ADHD traits? And is it really beneficial to follow such a straight line? And like, at what point do we have that gray area of different passions?
I think, ironically, one of the concepts of doing the most impactful activity comes around sometimes to understanding that sometimes that is letting yourself wander. I know for me, I have a ridiculous range in my education, but I apply graphic design, psychology. So many of those things fuel who I am as an entrepreneur. So I don't think it's ever, there has never been a part of essentialism that I could not fit. It was more about understanding that what's most impactful for me could be having diffuse thinking time, right? I cannot stay focused all the time. I will burn my brain out, and that actually lowers my impact in the rest of my business. So the principles of this, I have found complete alignment with as a parent, as a mom. I got really, really focused on what I do with my kids. I'm single mom, 3 kids. I just did not have the resources to do all the ideal things. And I narrowed in, and I just chose, like, what is it? And it's applying the principles to what you care about. So for me, there wasn't any loss in this with it being written for a man. It was completely just like human based, because it's complete ownership of what you want out of life and what you're willing to put in to get there.
Absolutely. Carrie.
Just as you were saying that, I thought, and back to your point, Tammy, of books that are written by men for men. And I love that Cheyenne just said, take the principles and apply them. But I think the key is what you said earlier, Cheyenne, is defining your success. I think you said set your goal. But then as women, as we know, we work with women all the time. Women just have sometimes different success definitions. And so usually I have found that that's the key. Like, if we know how we define success and what our goal is and why, we can just take the principles and apply them and then throw the rest in the dirt, frankly. And that's what I've done many times, right? And you've talked about bro marketing before, Cheyenne, and all of that. Like this, there's some stuff that does not resonate, does not align with my success definition. And so I think that's, like you said, backing up the really important first step, because if you don't know what success is for you, you're going to get sucked into all these other mindsets and goals that aren't yours. And so, yeah, I just want to like loop that back, because you said that beautifully, Tammy. If it's not meant for you, find the parts that do work for you. And I think it goes back to our definition of success.
Absolutely. This kind of brings me back to like, I too have 3 kids, and when they were little, like 3 within 3 years, I had to pick my battles. And if they would fight, it's like, you know what, I don't want to hear about it unless there's any blood. And then one time they came, Mom, he made me bleed. It's like, okay, is it gushing? Then don't worry about it. Like, we have to move set the parameter of what it is. So I think this really falls in. Let's now move to, like, if we want, however, the discussion is definitely, we want it to be free flowing, but to move back to the questions that Cheyenne identified. And does anyone want to, take a stab and see if you can start maybe finding your arrow? I'd love to open it up to someone who'd like to share what their thoughts are.
Anybody brave enough to go first? There are 2 questions I'll reiterate. What is one of the most important business goals you have right now? What will make the difference in your business in the next, say, 3 months? And then the second is, what is a high impact task? What will move the needle on that goal that you have circulating around you right now?
Go ahead, Deanna.
Hi, Deanna.
Hi, guys, girls, women, people. Okay, so the most important, it was the most important business goal right now is to finish my website, to redo. I'm working on like new copy and actually putting some pricing on there, whether it's just a starting at price. So that was a really good question, Carrie, because I'm like, what's my offer? I have no idea. So yeah, that's my number one thing. And my high impact task is there's a possibility with working with a client through some people. And what I want to do is photograph their like what they do and what they make on spec. So to create the photographs around their business and then present it to them. So that's been swirling around in my mind for like 3 days now. So yeah, so it just requires me to contact the person that is pitching the job and to sort of work with her to see if that is viable for her or not. And then we can work together on doing that.
That's perfect. The next step is such an important part to be able to really break down for yourself. Like, what is the next action that I need to take? Love it. I'm excited to see you, Deanna.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
Who's brave enough to go next?
I can go next.
Perfect.
Okay, so what is one of your most important business goals? So yeah, I've had like a pretty big shift lately, and especially after I spoke with you, Cheyenne. But also all in one day on Monday, I think today's Wednesday, right? Yeah, Monday. I was super excited because I got a grant for $5,000 for my business, which is exciting. An hour later, I was let go of a freelancing thing that has been like the only thing that's been limping me along. So I'm like, okay, this sucks. I kind of took the day to be sad. But yesterday was like just a really good and productive day. And I wrote the article about my brother's business. I spent so long making making it into a reel because that is not my favorite thing in the world. I have somebody who usually does that for my business for me. Who's my best friend, and I pay her in friendship. And for now, I'm like, one day when I am doing well, we are gonna go and have like a spa weekend. But yeah, I was just like, okay, this is what I need to do. And it just actually was scheduled and just went up a little bit ago. So now I'm just like laser focused on trying to work on this product and getting this product out. And I know that there's all these other things that need to happen, like getting the product on my website and all that other stuff. But I'm just focusing right now on delivering the product and then hopefully like getting the product on socials and things like that. The things that I can kind of do more easily. And I'm going, especially now that I know that I have this grant, I'm kind of letting the things that I don't love and that I can't do quickly kind of fall to the side a little bit. And I'm going to, be able to have somebody help me get my website up to where it needs to be and things like that. I mean, obviously 5,000 will go very quickly. But yeah, I just feel like maybe now I can actually get the ads and stuff in. So yeah, right now I'm just focusing on my actual product, hoping to figure out how to do some ads. And my goal is to get some money.
It's always money.
Supplement
your biggest goal is really sales, right? You really need. So what's on your to-do list that would move that forward the most?
Well, now that I have done my brother's like with Foley Tree Service, I've put that up. I want to get that printed and like a couple copies and go and hand them out to some places. And
so it's distributing.
Yeah.
That's a good action. That, and I can see the impact of that. Perfect.
Yeah. Fingers
Okay.
crossed.
Thanks, Ashley. I'm excited to hear that. Grant's good. Okay, who wants to go next? Most important, one of your most important business goals right now, and what is a high impact task that you have on your to-do list that would move it forward?
You know what, Ardith, I want to share too, and I think it's important. We are part of the reason why we do this is we get as much out of it as we put into it. It really is. And when there's more women involved, it just makes, I think, the impact all that much bigger. My big thing is saying no. And I had a really large job that would have been backbreaking. And I decided, you know what? I just can't risk it anymore. That's the kind of activity that I wanted to get out. And I emailed the client and I said, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to pass on this. And she said, oh, I totally understand why. I respect it. And I'm contacting you the next time something else comes up that she needs to be done. So I feel like it gives so much space by saying no. 2 little letters, but such a hard thing to say. Anyway,
Prioritizing, right?
Absolutely. Ardith, I'm excited to hear what you have to share.
Okay, there I found the unmute button. All right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me here. I apologize for what you may have seen some angles. Ants in the kitchen discovered them and anyways, okay. Back on track. What is my most important business goal right now? I would say my most important business goal right now is I have a potential client coming on board for my coaching business. And so I need to get the intake form out and I need to get the client an agreement form sent out to her. Promised I would have it to her before the end of this month. This month has been crazy. So that is my first important goal. And then what is a high impact task on my to-do list for this goal right now? I'm not exactly sure. I think it's just making sure that I follow through with that. So that.
What does it look like? What's the actual task? Like, what would you sit down at your desk to do?
Oh yeah, I would have to sit down in front of my laptop and I would have to just make sure that it is set up exactly for what it is that I have promised her I will be delivering her as a service so that she walks away feeling seen, heard, and knows that she cares about and that it's not about me. It's all about me giving her the time that she's paying me for.
Oh, that's a beautiful. I love that way of doing service. That's really beautiful. Exciting. Thanks for being here, Ardith. It's nice to see you jump in.
Nice to see you too.
Okay, I know I could go, but who wants to go next? Nilu, let's go.
Very simple task, because last 10 years, yes, I was doing an on and off with other responsibilities, and now I'm just doing whenever I just go in the like a deep digger in the business, I will go start from the scratch. Like, yeah, so I'm working on my digital catalog. I have a product in my hand, and now I'm bringing in the catalog, and I know lots of working on a website. There's just some changes because now the company is incorporated, and one is another company. So I'm just juggling with those one. So what is my main task? One is my catalog is really solid, and then I can bring slowly on like both sides, which one I have to move this product in this side and this product in this side. So a lot of work, but main focus is on my catalog. Once is feel like, okay, it's good, then I will move forward. This is my first goal.
What's the next task you can do for the catalog that would move it forward the most?
So next is bring all those pictures and with all details on the website. So yes, working on the website and together. So once my dough is ready, then I can cut all veggies.
Nice. A
And
lot of website work.
lots of work. So yeah, I'm working on that part, right?
Perfect. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it means if you see the like lots of puzzles, I'm seeing, yes, this is here, this is the contact information here, this is the, but I just want to go slowly, not like, oh, I will do it, I will can bring and sell them. No, I can go and bring like a good pizza. That's
Yeah.
why I was working on that.
Smart approach. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank
Kat, Karu, I know you're potentially having clients. Did you want to jump in, Karu? Put you in on the spotlight. No. Wendy, Kat, nope. Karu, you gonna go? Takes a minute to get to the mute.
Yeah, I'll jump in if that's okay.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so and you're gonna hear it again. Website is probably my most important one. And I'm gonna be totally honest, ding ding ding, aha moment. It is not on my to-do list. And I'm admitting it is in my head. And it's funny because I have paid clients for graphic design that are my money makers. So I let them take priority. So all of a sudden it's like, oh, so for me and myself to put this on my to-do list, I loved hearing you say on your 3-day sprint about making appointments for batch and that type of thing. So to me, I need to make an appointment to sit down, take a look at website, break it down smaller, and then I think put in like appointments with myself to do that. I think to me that's how I can do that. So being honest with that. I wanted to say something about you're talking about the choice, or I can save it till the end. Do you want me to? Okay. So you were talking about choice, and I had an aha moment myself on Monday that, like, in some ways, like the business I worked for, it closed the doors, but it gave me the choice. Now it's been since last September, and it took me this long to almost realize that, like in the life coaching that I teach, we talk about cultivate the opposite. So here comes Monday morning, and I have a lot of work to do. And Monday mornings, you're like, okay, I have to chew this and get into this. But I realized that, no, I'm not going to start my Monday that way. I'm going to go do my yoga, make my green drink, all take care of me because it's been slipping since September. And then I sat down to work at 10 o'clock, which is really late for me. And I had the most productive day ever. And so I realized I have a choice of how to spend my day. I have this choice, this gift. I have this beautiful day open for me to do the things that I want to do. And I also believe that, yes, I can tell you that my hours, but I'm starting to wonder, am I telling myself I'm busy? And is that a bad thought? Even though, yes, there's a lot of work. So that's just, yes, we have the choice. And I really am glad that you reiterated that.
That's perfect timing. I love it. So yours was you're working on your website, and I love that your next high impact task is actually scheduling time to do that. I am a big fan of marketing meetings and like literally scheduling in your calendar a time to focus on that. Otherwise, our stuff just kind of goes to the waypoint. I call marketing self-care for your business. It's like all the things that we know we should be doing, but we're like, I'll get to that when I get to that, right? Thanks, Kat. Wendy or Karu, where have you guys left? Anybody want to go? Karu.
Okay. My goal, I have many goals, but I decided this moment, develop my workshops. I have a tea shop, by the way. I have a little tea shop in Kingston, and I offer some workshops. And then my goal is to develop both online and in store, but I'm gonna focus on in store first. Online because I don't know what I am going to do. So I want to focus in store workshops. And then I actually do already once a month with my book club. And Cheyenne and I counted how many tickets I've sold this year, almost 30. So it was not bad. But I do workshop every month, fourth Sunday. But now the second questions answer is schedule my second workshop for September, October, and November. And probably I would do like second Sunday every month. So that's my goal.
As your marketing coach, I'm super stoked for this because I know how much it lights you up, and I think it's an incredible revenue stream waiting for you to tap into. Really excited for that. Yay. Thanks, Karu. Wendy, do you want to pop on?
So I was just trying to think of like what the biggest thing is, because I'm very busy right now, which is excellent, and I'm very blessed, and I'm grateful every day for that. And it's good work. It's not just like busy work. Great clients and everything. But one of the things that I really want to go into is more of the course creator area. So helping people, audit their courses, getting started on courses, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want that to be the only thing that I do, because I feel like I really still want to have some clients that I'm doing virtual assistant work with. I really love that work too. And I feel like the ongoing work there is really important to me as well. But I want to look at like how much of my business could I do with the course creation side of things, and then how much, because I'm a solopreneur, it's just me, like I'm not an agency, right? So my time is what it is. So yeah, and I think that like a high impact task on my to-do list, which I have been working at, because my goal isn't necessarily to get this out tomorrow, but is working on what that could look like and what I could do. So putting together some packages and those kind of things. So I think that's the high impact task, is just to really every week go. I pulled up my Asana task to see. I'm like, every week to set a reminder to myself to go into that section of my tasks and actually, put some more work into it so that I can get that out.
Yeah, you're at the ideation stage.
A little bit. I mean, I'm a little bit past ideation. I've done a little bit more than that, but not. Yeah, you're right.
It's fun. I'm excited for that. I know you and I have touched base around course creation.
I'm excited too, but Cheyenne, I'm going to jump in here now. Ashley actually has a great question, and I'd like you to answer that, but we are running short on time. Do you think you can answer that within within 2 minutes, or do you want to wait and do that after 10? So the question is sharing your typical weekly calendar.
I'll do that after 10.
Okay. So we
I want to quickly answer this one too, Tammy.
Go ahead.
So for me right now, my most important business goal is I have a campaign boot camp coming up, which I know quite a few are in, and I am so excited to like party with you guys over the summer. So now that I have wound down a lot of my other big projects, my biggest thing right now is like, let's make this amazing. So my task list is to sit down and just start. I have it structured, but like, what else can I bring? What am I going to set? So really getting into the strategy of it, that's my next task. And I'm super stoked for it.
What are you getting a strategy into?
For the campaign boot camp that I'm running over the summer.
Oh, that's right.
I'm like fleshing it out and making it beautiful. It's going to be fun.
Nice. So this program that we have, the Exploring Entrepreneurship, we have the 1 hour, 9 till 10, where we, like discuss the topic. And then we kind of have a water cooler discussion after the fact. So maybe before I provide the information for our next session, Cheyenne, can you summarize and maybe provide an action on what they can do next? Your action stuff. Look at that.
So that task that we kind of just broke down and looked at, what I want you guys to do is schedule a time that you're going to do it in the next 7 days. Earmark it. Really protect it in your schedule, and remember that bigger goal. Remember the reason why you've dedicated that time for it and the impact it can have on your business. That's my action step.
Confession. Kat, you just made me realize I always put time a day for Tammy's stuff, but I never get to it because other stuff come on. I have to narrow it down and maybe just set 1 hour aside for myself. And maybe I'll be able to do that, because I can get a lot done in an hour, but I need that hour. Thank you so much for bringing that up. That is, I've gained so much from this. I hope you all have as well. The next session that we're going to have is the last Wednesday of the month, which is Wednesday, July 31st, 5 weeks, because July is 5 weeks, and it's going to be at 9 a.m. And I'm going to be discussing a classic book How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's by Dale Carnegie, and it was actually written in 1936. It's 90 years old. And when I read it, I got so much out of it, and I'd really like to share the essence of that book with everybody. It will give you powerful techniques to enhance relationships, influence people around you, and help you become more persuasive. It's an old idea that I think everyone can gain so much value with. So I really hope to have everyone be part of that. I will throw up, if I can find it, the link for this is see that? Trying to do too many things at once. This is our if you'd like to stay up to date with everyone, we do have with our actions. This is our MailChimp link. Feel free to follow that. And for the next book, the Dale Carnegie book, this is the link for that. So I thank you. And if you got to run, we understand time is really precious and absolutely run out, but we will end the recording here for this. Thank you so much for being a part. And we'll continue on with the water cooler discussion for those that want to stay around.